And that's how I see it. And that's like one of the reasons why it's so easy for me with like still struggling with eating disorder thoughts to like actually do carnivore. Like that's the main reason for me, because I just feel mentally way better. I feel physically way better. And it's not a form of restriction for me, but it's like actually freedom. And honestly, like I'm way calmer right now. I just feel better overall. And I just wish everyone could experience that.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining me again today for another episode of the podcast. Today I have Joelina Bandow coming in from Germany, and she has
Hello.
a wonderful story to tell us. Really looking forward to getting into it. I gave you a little bit of a preview before we started, but the last carnivore style episode I did was with Dr. Robert Kiltz, and I saw that you're actually following him, so you know of him. And for me, that was a super technical, sciencey episode I was having a difficult time keeping up with. So I'm really excited to just get the complete different side today and just hear a story of a real person that is doing this, what they've been through. And you're also quite new to it. It's been just over a month that you've been strict carnivore following your Instagram stories. So, Joelina, why don't you introduce yourself to the world? Tell us a little bit about who you are and where you came from.
Okay, so it's been quite a ride. So, first of all, I want to apologize if I do make any grammar mistakes or pronounce something kind of weird. I'm German, living in Germany. I really love the States and I kind of want to move there. Like, it's always been my dream, but I'm not native, so I just want to apologize. But yeah, anyways, I just turned 18, so I'm also a youngster, I guess. But I've been through quite a lot. So, when I was younger, I had a bowel obstruction, which like kind of led me into becoming obese because honestly afterwards I wasn't able to like do or participate in any sports. And I don't know, like my schoolmates always made fun of me, so I never like actually enjoyed like sports. And I was just like so drawn to food, and my parents, like I'm an only child and my parents are just like really, yeah, they just love me, so they always like provided me with food, so I would just stuff my feelings away. And that's basically how I became pretty much obese. So I'm 5'5", and I was weighing like 80 kilograms. I don't know the amount in pounds, but yeah, then the
I'm really
pandemic
bad
hit.
at math, but I usually about double it. I can look it up right now. Let's see it. It's like
Okay.
80 kilos. That's about
I think,
175 pounds. So
yeah, I was like pretty heavy and yeah, I got made fun of a lot in school. Like people would pick on me and it just like really, yeah, I don't know, it just got me like really depressed and sad, but I would like just continue to go to Starbucks like every single day and I would like put on more weight and more weight. And then the pandemic hit. I knew nothing about calories, but for sure I just thought, okay, yeah, grains are like pretty healthy, fruits, vegetables, everything. So I went down this road. Um, and I mean, in the beginning, it was easy for me to lose weight. Like I lost weight eating, like I would have banana pancakes for breakfast with like oats and like maple syrup and like everything. And I would cook them in not in soy, no, sunflower oil. And I would drizzle so much in the pan and everything. So I thought it was healthy, but I actually lost quite some weight. And then I discovered the gym. And I just wanted to lose weight, so I went on a bodybuilder diet. I actually competed in bodybuilding, but that's like that happened 1 year ago, so my story is a bit longer. But yeah, so then I literally lost some weight, but I was like developing so much anxiety. Like I was on a diet, I was not eating any fat. I was only having chicken breast, green beans, and whatever. Then I got sick, and I was just like tired of eating the same stuff every single day. And of course, then I met some like vegan influencers. Like I just saw them on Instagram, started following them, and thought, oh, okay, like my family is kind of scared of me because like I just lose weight so quickly. So I just thought, oh, I could become a vegan. So I became vegan for quite some time. But honestly, I care more about like animals now than back then. Um, because I just used veganism as a form of restriction, but that didn't last long. And then some traumatic events happened. I was probably at like 130 pounds, and then the binging started. I would just like binge on diet food. So I would have like 14 protein bars in a sitting. I'm not joking, it was terrible. And then I just regained the weight, and then I competed, and then I had major gut issues afterwards, went on a whole like pretty much like lean protein, high carb diet, and just felt terrible. And then I came to keto and then carnivore, and now there's me weighing around like 115 pounds, doing way better mentally, feeling good, improved like hormones and everything. Sorry if that was a ramble.
Yeah, no, that was great. Yeah, that was really good. And there's a couple parts in there that I wanted to touch on. The first one was you mentioned that you got a bowel reconstruction surgery. So, what exactly is
Obstruction.
that? Was that sort of like a something in your digestive system wasn't working properly from like the diet that you were on, and you had to like actually go in and make some changes there?
No, I don't know what the name is in English, but there's like a part of my digestive tract that got removed. I gotta translate it for a second. It's called Blinddarm in Germany, and you don't need it, but we still have it in our digestive tract. But wait, give me a second. It's called appendix. Yeah, I had my appendix.
Appendix removal. Yeah.
Yes, and 1 year later, something happened, and for some reason, like my whole digestion tract was like off, so I got a bowel obstruction, and yeah, I just got constipated, and they literally had to like yeah, cut me open. And after that, like it was exactly 1 year later, I wasn't able to do any sports either. So again, like 2 years of surgery, like I was 7 and 8. So like my peers would just like love doing like sports and would like actually do something, but I was just never interested because I was just in a hospital. Like, yeah, and afterwards my parents are like really overprotective, so they wouldn't let me do sports right after, so I had to like actually wait for a long time, and then I just never liked it. I just became like really, let's say I became just like a phone addict or Nintendo addict, I guess, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, man, that's just such a brutal thing to go through at such a young age. I can only imagine, especially when you're just going through school, you're surrounded by people, like you care so much about your appearance and what people think of you. And I can imagine that that is such a classic story that I hear where people turn to food to just sort of drown their emotions away and just eat. And it sounds like that similar thing happened to you. Got up to 175 pounds at 5'5", and I saw your old pictures. The before and afters are quite crazy, and
Thank
this
you.
happens to so many people, especially to girls. It seems like it happens more because it's there. There's more vulnerability there, I would say, or girls care even more about what they look like at that age than men do. Like us men, we think that we care, but girls care more, and so everything is just more intense. And the fact that you're only 18 now and you've already been through all this has been just a wild journey, and it's so awesome to see you. I mean, it's unfortunate that you had to sort of find carnivore out of desperation in a way because your health was deteriorating. But this is sometimes a blessing in disguise for people, is that they're pushed into learning these things really early, and that gets them on the right track, and then the rest of their life, becomes so much healthier and better, and you have a crazy story to tell. So big kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
The big thing that I want to highlight there as well is how you did lose some weight when you like did the vegan diet and the
Fine.
more plant-based diets. And one of the things you said there that is I totally want to highlight is that the reason why sometimes people can lose some weight, which for a lot of people that's their goal on vegan or plant-based diets, is because it is a form of restriction. You're restricting yourself. You're going into it wanting to like restrict the calories because that's what we're told to do, and so
Yeah.
some weight does come off, but mentally, it's classic for your mental just to go down the drain because you're not getting the nutrients you need. You're like really low nutrients. So would you say that that was pretty much what happened? Like you noticed that your brain just wasn't functioning properly despite your body looking technically better?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, honestly, I have so many pictures of me like weighing like 130 pounds or like 135 pounds, and I was looking lean. I wasn't looking bad, but in the moment, I just felt sorry. I still have like oxalate dumping, so I just like kind of cough up. Like that's like the only downside of carnivore because I went like cold turkey. I was on such a high oxalate diet, so now
We'll
oxalate's really
talk about that
messed.
later for sure.
Yeah.
I that's such a common thing, and yeah, I get it.
Oh, I freaking hate it. I'm drinking lemon water. Like it's day 2 of me drinking lemon water. Prior to that, I was like too proud of being a newbie carnivore, but now I'm just like, okay, I'm still a newbie, but I gotta drink some lemon water.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
we could even
so
talk about that a
honest.
little bit. Or sorry, go ahead. We'll talk about oxalate dumping next. I think that's a great topic for people.
Oh, it's a great topic. Yeah, I've got so many DMs because of that. Like, people are so confused and they all think that spinach is still great, and I'm just like, no, it's not. But like, yeah, for me, like, I was vegan for like 2 months, but honestly, it was for me again, like, just like some form of restriction. And yeah, it was just like, honestly, if people would like offer me food, I just didn't want them to know that I was suffering from anorexia. I wanted to just say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm vegan. I cannot have that." And like, my parents didn't think much of it. Like, my dad was like, honestly, he was really sad. Like, he was just like my dad runs a meat company, so he sells meat, and my mom's a pescatarian. Oh well, she says she's a vegetarian, but she eats fish. But she doesn't want to talk about it. Like, I can't address that she eats fish, because otherwise she's just like, Joelina, stop telling me that. Like, I don't want to know. But today was like a big milestone for her. She gave up margarine. She finally uses butter. Like, I'm so thankful. Thanks to Steak and Butter Gal, by the way. I love her so much. And my mom is like her biggest fan. But anyways, my mom loves her content as well as a vegetarian. But like, my dad got like really frustrated with me being a vegan now as well. But like, he didn't think much of it. He was just like, okay, she's just trying to be healthy. But like, for me, it was just like a way of restricting. But I remember, like, in that time, I was developing like really bad anxiety, like really bad anxiety. And honestly, I had this anxiety until like March this year. Like, I always had this weird feeling in my chest area, and I got like, so I wouldn't say like panic attacks, but I was really frustrated. I felt like so much panic, like, for no reason. And honestly, it doesn't matter if you're like meat based, or if you're vegan, or if you're paleo, whatever. Even if you're meat based and only eat filet mignon, even if it's nice, okay, it doesn't matter. Your health won't improve. You don't have to focus on like the protein. You gotta also focus on the fat. But the fat, like, it's important that it's animal fat, because I remember having some nuts, like, when I developed, and also the binge eating because of my anorexia, like, it was just like both together. I felt terrible, but now I'm having like at least 150 grams of fat a day, and I feel calm. Like, I finally feel like I have this this zero carb zen. I just feel like so calm. Like, I'm craving fat. Like, I'm just like eating so much. Like, my body is craving so much meat right now, and I just feel like so much better, so much calmer. I wouldn't say my eating disorder is like perfectly like resolved, but it's pretty much in remission. Like, I still suffer from like some binges or some anorexic thoughts, but like, I'm doing much better. And I feel like it might sound counterintuitive, but like, this diet gave me so much food freedom. I'm eating more than ever. I mean, you can laugh right now, but I had around like 3.5 pounds of meat today, but I was like craving it. Like, I was just like pounding meat because my body needs it. Like, I still feel like I could have like probably 5 pounds. Like, honestly, if I reach 5K followers, I probably have like a 5 pound ribeye, because I just love ribeyes. I feel so good. Like, I'm just thriving right now. So
You've definitely
yeah,
been listening to Steak and Butter Gal because she always talks about
I
how,
am.
you cannot restrict yourself on this. Like, just let yourself eat. Because so many times people who are coming to this diet are coming from a place of like really bad malnutrition where your body hasn't been satiated by any of the food you're eating. You're not getting the nutrients you need. So that's a big tip to throw out there. Like, when you're on the carnivore diet,
Yeah,
you just eat until you're full. And as Ken Berry says, eat until you're comfortably stuffed. Every time. That's what you should be doing. That's what humans
yeah.
should
Honestly, it's
naturally
like,
be able to do.
okay, well, but
Go
my
ahead.
hunger
Yeah.
cues are like still like, I cannot really trust my hunger cues too much, because I get like full so easily, but then I would end up like only having 800 calories in a day, and I just know my body still hasn't recovered from all of those years of like underfueling. So I kind of keep track of my like calories, and honestly, sometimes like I still have some moments where I'm just like, okay, you're eating too much, you're getting fatter and whatever. Like, I still have those thoughts, and sometimes like people react to my stories and ask me if it's my OMAD, and I'm just like, no, I'm gonna have 2 meals that size. Like, sometimes it's just like kind of funny to me. Like, I just try to laugh it up, but like, I'm eating like a grown ass man right now. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear in this podcast,
Absolutely.
but
Let it fly.
okay, because I just feel like so good. Like I had like two big ribeyes today. I also had some leftover meat. I had some heart, and I just feel like so good. Like I'm eating so much. And honestly, this diet for me, it's not about like losing weight or anything. But I gotta tell you, after like dropping the carbs, and I do know carbs and water retention, but I was like so puffy. I was holding on to so much water. I lost, I don't know how many pounds that is, but around like 6 to 7 kilograms in a few days by just like increasing my fat intake and just like cutting down on carbs. So I literally lost just weight by doing like the best thing for me, and I'm just like feeling so good, and I can eat so much, and I just feel really good. And yeah,
And
sorry,
something I
I'm
think
I'm
we
just like so
glanced
excited.
off of it earlier, but you're only 30 days into this. So you're brand new. You're still kind of figuring things out. So this isn't a podcast of like, experts talking about carnivore. I'm certainly not an expert. I'm still learning too. I've been doing it for since, the September 2023. So I've been doing it for a while and I've been listening to a lot of podcasts. So I'm a little bit further down the path, but the fact that, I mean, you're going through this journey right now, you're still kind of figuring things out. It takes some time because when your body hasn't been eating the natural human diet of fatty meat for a while, it takes some time for those signals to get figured out. And like you said, there's a little bit of a mental block there because you're still, there's a piece of you is still stuck in that carb mode where you're just like, you need more and more and more. And then you felt bad about it because you're gaining weight and you're feeling worse. And so there's a little bit of that, still hanging on. And I'm
Yeah,
sure that as you stick with it, that will go away and it will just get better and better, as I hear time and time again from people.
yes, honestly, like last year, after like my bodybuilding competition, like I was at my leanest point, but I was like eating very low and like the typical bodybuilding diet. Afterwards, I crashed so bad, like I had the worst gut issues, and I just like put on weight so easily. Like I was like honestly, at some point, I just like kind of blew up, you know? And I was holding so much water. I still kind of struggle with some water retention now and like then because I'm like really like salt sensitive. That's so weird, but I just hold on to water when I'm stressed, but not as bad as I used to. But I literally was just like gaining weight after my show and nothing helped. Like honestly, I was eating like thousands to like 1,300 calories a day. I was like walking 30,000 steps, also going on a 10K run and lifting weights in a day, and I would still gain weight. Like my hormones were so messed up. I would wake up in the middle of the night at like 1 a.m. thinking it was already 8 a.m. I was like so stressed and I was not eating fat. Like, my diet consisted out of like cauliflower rice, tomatoes, spinach, maybe some chicken breast, boiled chicken breast, of course, 0 calorie sauces, um, maybe some like frozen raspberries, maybe some strawberries, and maybe like egg whites. And maybe if I had a good day, I would maybe have like one egg yolk, okay? But that's it. And the worst thing is, I would literally cook my food in like, I don't want to like hate on like Teflon pans, but I had like a Teflon pan, but I literally, because I never
Oh,
used
we hate on
oils.
Teflon pans here. That
Okay, good.
nonstick is poison. Hate on
Okay,
it.
because yeah, I had one of those, but I never used oils, okay? So I would literally scrap on it, and my food literally had those black dots on it. I still have this shit probably in my body right now, but I would literally eat my Teflon pan just because I didn't put any oils, nothing, and I was just like scraping on it. And once my dad saw it, he was just like, Joelina, you can't have that. You're poisoning yourself. But I mean, I think probably I had like cauliflower rice, I had xanthan gum, cauliflower protein shakes. I don't think the Teflon pan was actually the worst of my diet. I probably believe it was like the oxide foods and the plant foods, but like, yeah, I was doing miserable.
I mean, I wasn't that different than you. I have a lot of similar parts to my tale. Like when I was in college, I lived in a fraternity where we had a chef that cooked for us, and we also had a gym in the house. So I would just have the chef make me plates of chicken breast and rice and broccoli. Like I think that's pretty much the quintessential like bodybuilder diet, like you're talking about, like
Yeah.
zero fat, like lean meat and carbs, pretty much. So like pretty much every day, like I hated choking that stuff down, but I felt like I thought it was the best. That's what I did for months on end was just like work out downstairs and just plow through this chicken, just wishing that there was some sauce on it because it's so dry. But
Honestly,
like you though,
when
was able to basically exercise my way through it, so I didn't get too overweight. But I mean, that isn't a good way to live when you're having to cancel out a bad
No,
diet with exercise.
not just that. I was just like also a miserable person to be around. Like my parents and I, we all love Florida so much. Like it's our dream to move there. And so we went to Florida, like after my bodybuilding competition show. And I was like literally a mess. I was a wreck. Like when we went to a restaurant, I had to make sure they had chicken breast. And you know what I would order? Sometimes when I was like in a goofy good mood, I would order like 2 boiled chicken breasts. And I told them, sorry, I don't want any oils, nothing. So I would literally go there. But prior to that, I'm sorry, I also got shit on for like loving Publix because our grocery stores suck in Germany. But I freaking love Publix and I love Whole Foods. Like I'm such a grocery shopper queen, whatever. I just love it. So I went to Publix prior to that and bought myself all the freaking spices and all the freaking sauces. And I would go to like pretty good restaurants. Like we would like go to like actually like exclusive restaurants. And I would ask the freaking guy at the front, like, yeah, do you guys have chicken breast? And we would go to like really good steakhouse and they'd be like, yeah. So I would literally order boiled chicken, boiled broccoli, like but it probably like a pound of broccoli. They would like look at me like, is she stupid? And then I would literally have like this whole backpack with like sugar-free sauces and spices, and I would put it on the table and just like you must imagine it was like an expensive restaurant, and I was sitting there with my own sauces, boiled chicken breast, just like pouring the shit over my food. Yeah, it was a wild time. Like I'm glad I'm over that, but it was wild to say the least.
Yeah, and that's one of the things about these high carb diets and the lean meat and whatnot is there's no flavor in it. It doesn't like trip those sensors in our brain of like this is good food, this is satiating me, this is nutritious, this is making me feel good. So you have to pour sugar and oxalate seasoning on it, all these poisonous things that are bad for us in order to cancel that out. Another perfect example is salad dressing. You know, people don't really like to
Oh,
eat salads. They like the croutons. They like the little blocks of cheese
yeah.
on it. They like the chicken and the chicken Caesar salad, and they love the dressing on top. No one's
What's the
eating,
name?
dry
You
lettuce.
guys,
If
you
they are,
guys
they're
have this
crazy.
one. You guys have this one dressing, like the sugar-free dressing. It's yellow. It's Walden Farms, the yellow one. Oh, I was so
Honey
addicted. Like I
mustard.
literally took like honey mustard. Yes, I took
Yeah,
like 10 bottles with me to Germany because I was so addicted. Like I love that. It was crazy.
just full of seed oils and sugar and crap. And people
Yes.
will literally eat these salads covered in that stuff, and they think that they're being healthy. They think that the leaves they overpower. Like I mean, they know that the dressing's not good, but they think that the leaves are so good that it overpowers it. Well, as we've learned, the leaves aren't
Yeah.
even good for you. They're also a negative.
Yes.
They're
Yeah.
full of these
Yeah.
plant defense chemicals from nature. These plants have inside their leaves. They don't want to be eaten, so they are full of poison to stop predators from eating it. And here we are, too smart for our own good, being humans, and we just put them in a bag and we decide that, oh, this is different than the leaves in the forest that we know we shouldn't eat. We're going to put it in a bag and now it's okay. It's still not okay. It's still bad for you.
And it's honestly so expensive as well. I mean, it's not cheap. And it's like there's no nutrition in that. And then there are people who say, "Oh, meat is so expensive." I get it. Like prices are definitely like higher now, but like you're investing in your health. And I mean, you don't have to eat like fillets every single day. Like I get it, it's expensive, but like I rather invest in my health now than like being ill later. So yeah. And honestly, like all those protein shakes and bars that I bought, they were so expensive as well. Like, oh my goodness, they were expensive. Like actually.
Yeah, which are
And
also a
all the
big part of
supplements
the
as well.
bodybuilding diet, the whey protein. Oh, so you're doing supplements too.
It, oh, I wasn't doing supplements. I was doing supplements. Like I was taking like actually I can send you a picture later. I was taking so many supplements after being vegan. I had to like actually drink. It wasn't shit, but it was something. It was like actually so disgusting. It was just like dirt. I had to drink dirt because my gut was so messed up. I had to literally do everything and anything. Like I had to take like 20 pills in the morning, 20 pills in the evening, probably. Um, Yeah, and my doctor told me to stop consuming red meat and eggs. And I wasn't even having any of that. I was a vegan when I came to him because of my issues. So it was really funny, and I was just like, yeah, okay, but I'm already not eating any of that food. He was like, yeah, it's probably one of the reasons why your gut is inflamed as well, and you should cut out gluten and dairy as well. So then it was just like terrible advice, but yeah.
Not the cutting out gluten part. That's great advice for anyone. Gluten's
Yeah,
terrible for
that's great as
everybody, but
well. Yeah, that's great, yeah.
yeah.
And I always stuck to it since then.
So
Yeah.
I think that's a good wake up call for any vegan listeners or people that are mostly plant based. Is just this idea that having tons of supplements are okay and it's fine and it makes it equal to eating animal products. The fact that you're eating these little capsules full of this like chemical version of something, it's crazy. Like you just have to like take a step back and think logically here. Like the bioavailability, that's one of the biggest words I've learned since going down this rabbit hole and trying to help people understand, is that there's such a big difference. Like when you have nutrients in a capsule versus nutrients in a piece of beef, there it's not even
Yes.
close which one your body is more able to absorb. And when you eat a
Ye-
piece of meat, since your body is made of meat, it is built to absorb that. Like we are a carnivorous species. Not like 70% plus of species on Earth are carnivores for that reason, because it's really easy for us to absorb these amino acids from meat. And it's really rare for there to be herbivores. It's a very small percentage of the species on Earth. They have really specialized stomachs and digestive systems able to do that. We don't have that. And so the fact that we're trying to get our nutrients from plants is just not going to work. It's even if it says like vitamin whatever on this bottle of pills, those are your body's not going to be able to use those. It's just mainly marketing and bullshit.
Yeah, especially it doesn't make sense to me to push like a vegan diet because you have to take supplements. Like it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and
So,
as I'm traveling right now, living in hostels, I've seen this. I just eat my big pile of steak every day, and there's so many vegan travelers. Like it's one of the demographics where there's so many people that have been fooled by that, because they're all spiritual, they're one with the world, and
yeah.
they got pulled into the vegan marketing. So I meet these people all the time. They look at me just in horror in the kitchen as I'm making my steak, and
Yeah.
I look at them just like piling leaves onto their plates, and they literally have to travel with a case of supplements to be able to function. And I like as soon as I started this diet a couple weeks in, I realized I don't need any supplements anymore. I got rid of my supplements, and this is one of the things that people think when you're on an all meat diet, that you need supplements. You don't need any supplements, because meat has every single vitamin you need. It's more bioavailable. Like the one that they always bring up is vitamin C. Like, where do you get your vitamin C? Meat has enough vitamin C, and it's more
Yes.
bioavailable.
Especially,
So the fact that you're not eating
especially,
carbohydrates, you absorb
yes.
all of it, so you're good.
Yeah. Yeah, especially if you don't eat any carbs, you don't need as much vitamin C. So, yeah. I also love the argument like, oh, but you need fiber. And yeah, like, no. It's also like one of my favorite arguments. Like earlier, I got this comment, like a German comment, because especially in Germany, there's not a big carnivore movement or something like that. Like it's brand new. But I received like this comment like this diet is the biggest crap ever. Like where are your nutrients coming from, and where are you like where's your fiber coming from? You need fiber. Oh, and you need vegetable oils or vegetable fat. And I was just like, why do you need vegetable fat? And please tell me why fiber is necessary. And I never got a reply. Like,
Yeah, first of
I'm
all,
like,
there's
so,
no such thing as vegetable fat. It's oil. Plants make
yeah,
oils, and animals make fat. So like, there's a big difference between those two. And the fact that they think that you need vegetable oil, my gosh, like they are so lost. This is like it's literally industrial poison. And I did an episode with Nina Teicholz. I'm sure you know who she is. She wrote The Big Fat
oh, I
Surprise.
loved her book. Her book was so good. I just read it
Hmm.
like 2 months ago. It was so good.
Oh, great. Yeah. Yeah. She's the one that came up with the term seed oil. She coined that. And so I talked to her about that. And that is, for so many people, myself included, that was my first step. and really just learning how to improve my health. Soon after, like you said, was getting rid of my Teflon pans. It's just like getting rid of these things that is very easy to understand why it's bad for you. Like when you see a video of vegetable oil being made, it's pretty clear like that
It's
there's no way
disgusting.
that this should be going in my body. And then when you learn about the Teflon pans and like the plastic spatulas and things I also had in my kitchen at the time, it just makes a lot of sense. Like, okay, that can't be good that I'm eating my food. So when you're trying to help people walk through the steps, start with the simple ones that makes the most sense. Like you probably shouldn't be putting engine lubricant in your body, you dummy. And you probably shouldn't be eating plastic. These things make sense. And then once they start getting the gears turning of making these changes and seeing positive results, their mind will start to expand and start to think about, maybe there's some other things out there that I missed because clearly I missed these things. And then that's, for me, I think I did similar to you. We'll actually talk about your full like food changing journey. For me, I sort of did the animal based for a while. I did meat and fruit. I was following Paul Saldito on Instagram. I basically was just doing what he was doing. And so I did that for, 8 months or something. And then I found Anthony Chafee and went full carnivore for
Same.
that and just felt even better. So it's a pathway for everyone. And it's tricky because each of these different steps where, people get stuck on each step sometimes, there's like these big influencers who stick to one of them and they really just build a brand around it, and it stops people from reaching the next step sometimes. I see that in the animal-based world a lot, or they call it animal-based, the meat and fruit and honey diet, where a lot of people are building brands around that right now. And it's really easy to get lots of followers to say that sugar is good for you because people love
Yeah, and
eating sugar.
especially,
It's addicting. So when they hear that, they're
the
like,
fruit
yes, this
also looks
person
so
says it's good for me.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
And
fruit
you've
is
been
so
there
beautiful.
too.
Like, honestly, yeah, honestly, like, I mean, it's really beautiful. Like, okay, meat is also like pretty if you like actually grill it nice. It's nice, but nothing compares to like a freshly like a fruit plate. I don't know, just so beautiful. Like all of those colors. Like especially I have so many girls like DMing me and telling me, yeah, they wanna like incorporate more meat or wanna like kind of try carnivore, but they just want to eat more feminine. And I'm like, I mean, fat is literally so feminine. You need it for your hormones. And they're just like, yeah, but fruits are so feminine and they're just like so girly. And I just want to be that girl that has like some strawberries or eats her watermelon at the beach and enjoys some lemon and enjoys whatever, like all of those colors. And I just hate it. I also got a comment once that I eat like really manly, that the way I eat is manly. And I was just like, another girl wrote that. And I'm just like, what happens to girls support girls? Like, honestly, if I see another woman thriving, even on a vegan diet, I would never say, ugh, stop eating all of those oxalates, you stupid arugula obsessed queen, whatever. No, I wouldn't say that. I would just be like, okay, good for you, queen. If you're doing great on that, nice. I doubt that, but I would never say something like, ugh, you eat like a cow for like eating just like leaves, whatever. Like, I don't know. It's just like so sad to see so many girls believing that eating steak is just for men and it's masculine, and it's not. Like, honestly, I've never felt more feminine. Like, I feel so much better. Like, my hormones improving. Like, I really, because of my eating disorder in the past, I've lost my period. I literally, I had no estrogen, no progesterone. I was literally starving. Like, my whole freaking body. Like, I was depleted. Like, my cortisol was like skyrocketed high. Like it was terrible. And it was just, I also got diagnosed with depression. But honestly, I was just like eating less than 30 or 20 grams of fat in a day. And everything changed for me when reading Georgia Eats book. Like, I love this woman, I love her book. And then I started eating like avocado. Honestly, I was scared of meat still a bit, but I was like starting to eat more avocado. And I also had some cheese. And then I was just like, I gotta give it a try. And then I think my first fatty steak was a T-bone steak, like more fatty, because prior to that I would only have maybe some filet, but that's it.
So I hear this story all the time. The first time that you ate meat in a long time, what did you experience from that? Like how was that for you? Because I'm sure, like you said, you're scared of it. when you have such a mental conditioning that meat is bad and you're evil for eating this food we've been eating for millions of years, it it's there's a big mental block there. But what was that experience for you? And also, how long was it before you'd eaten it, and then what did it feel like as you first took a bite?
Well, so when I was vegan, that was in the beginning of 2022. And then I would say like around 2022, like the summer of 2022, or around my birthday, I started having like chicken breast again and like turkey, but that didn't do anything. And I was just like restricting like red meat for a long time. And then I think I had some red meats, but like only lean, like I would have maybe steak, like filet, only filet, maybe like once or twice, and it was okay, but like nothing really crazy happened. But then I remember when I picked up running, I got like a really bad iron deficiency, and I would literally start dreaming about steak. Like I remember my dreams being around being about meat, because I was like again also struggling with binging and everything, but I would binge on dates and I would binge on like chocolate, but then I just kind of started craving meat, and then I started like having steak for breakfast instead of my freaking weird potato, broccoli, egg white bowl. Which left me feeling bloated and drained every single day. You must know, I hated breakfast because after having breakfast I was bloated and I was tired again. So I wasn't the biggest fan of breakfast. Um, and now I don't feel that way anymore. But like, I was just like feeling so bad. But then when I started eating meat, I finally felt like actually good after. Like, I was still having like filet, but I had it with like eggs, and I also had it with like avocado. So it wasn't just like primarily the fatty meat because it wasn't fatty, but I had other animal fats and that avocado. And I just started feeling way better. Like, I just felt so rejuvenated, especially after eating. And I was like, mentally satisfied as well. That's like the thing, especially with binge eating and people who struggle with binge eating. Well, I was like more. I was never like binge eating. I was like also. I'm sorry, trigger warning. I was like also purging. Like I wasn't like actually like throwing up, but I would literally like over exercise the next day and make up for it. But I literally like never felt like mentally full as well, and it only happened when I started like eating animal fats. And that's like also a big thing when people talk to me about like sugar addiction and binge eating. Like for me, I still struggle with binge eating even on this diet, and I still struggle with like restrictive thoughts and wanting to restrict. But the voices in my head are like getting quieter. I know that sounds weird to say like the voices in my head, but it's like the way eating disorders work, you know? But it's gotten so much better, and it's like so hard. Like, okay, I personally cannot tolerate dairy that well because of my stomach, but also it's so easy to overeat dairy. It's also really easy to eat something like bacon. For me, I don't really like pork. I try to avoid pork. I'm not the biggest fan because I don't have like the best quality pork around me. And honestly, for me, another trigger food is chicken thighs, and I cannot deal with chicken fat and chicken thighs because it just left me inflamed. But it's just still a trigger food for me. So I got to be careful with that. And I had oxtail for the first time, and like slow cooked meat is like still also like kind of a trigger food for me. But like actually having a nice steak where you gotta chew on it, it's just the best also for people who struggle with like binge eating and eating disorders, because you're just gonna be you just won't overeat it. You just eat as much as you want, but you won't feel like bad afterwards. Like even today, like I still have those numbers in my head and I do still track calories, and I ate way more than I would have normally like to eat because I'm still in that mindset where I struggle, but I know that I'm not gonna wake up tomorrow feeling anxious, wanting to over exercise or overcompensate for it, because I just feel nourished and good in my body, and also that I ate more because I try to listen to my body and I still know it needs the nutrients. Like it's okay for me to have some days where I have like 4 pounds of meat because I restricted for so long. And I think it's so important for so many people, especially young girls and women, to understand it's okay to give your body actually more. And you don't, even if you go to the carnivore diet, like so many women other carnivore women like come up to me and say stuff like, yeah, why are you eating so much? Like, how is that possible? And I'm just like, I'm really active, and I know that my body still need the nutrients, and I feel like it's so important to spread the message that you don't have to compare yourself to others just because someone else is doing OMAD and is maybe only eating a pound of beef a day. It's totally fine if you're having even 6 or 7 pounds for a while. If your body really needs it, it has a reason. Like, it's not like overeating on like pizza or like donuts. You don't need that shit. You don't need that. It's totally like it's common to overeat those foods, but if you actually overeat like steak, there's a reason for it because your body still needs more of it. And that's how I see it. And that's like one of the reasons why it's so easy for me with like still struggling with eating disorder thoughts to like actually do carnivore. Like that's the main reason for me because I just feel mentally way better. I feel physically way better except for the oxalate dumping, but we're going to talk about that. But I just feel way better. And it's not a form of restriction for me, but it's like actually freedom. And honestly, like I'm way calmer right now. I just feel better overall. And I just wish everyone could experience that. So sorry, that was like a rant.
I love it. I totally think that will speak to so many people who are going through similar things right now. And I would even venture to say it's impossible to overeat on fatty red meat. If you're eating a lot, it's because your body needs a lot. It needs more. It's like
And
you said, it needs more, it needs to re-up those nutrients it's been missing. And you just
yeah,
need to let your body sort of give you the correct signals, because this, for many people, this will be the first time you're actually getting your satiation signals are being rewired in a healthier way, and it just takes some time for that to iron out. And another excellent carnivore woman who I'm sure you've heard of or followed is Kelly Hogan, and she talks about this as well, how for I think several months she was just eating a ton of meat, and like you said, like 4 or 5 6 pounds a day. And she wasn't sure, like, man, is this okay, is this okay? And she even gained some weight during that time. But it turns out that part of the weight gain that people need to understand is that it's your composition changing that you can't see. You're gaining some muscle and you're losing some fat at the same time. So you need to not even care about the scale for the first few months most of the time. There are certain people that do see quick weight loss, but it depends on your body and what it's missing and what it needs. There are a lot of women out there,
yeah,
especially coming from the plant-based background, who are really deficient in lots of vitamins and they're malnourished. So they go through a period of just eating ravenously, and this is
oh,
the most common uh, you know, advice I see from the best in the game is that you just gotta go with it, embrace it, and just
yeah,
eat until it's not tasting good
uh,
anymore, and don't stop yourself because your body needs it. And in time, as it fills up on all those nutrients it's been missing, and it starts, the satiation gets fixed over time, and you're just fully vitalized, then your body will be able to redirect those resources to shedding the fat off. It will finally be able
yeah,
to let it go. And your body, you need to let your body heal first before you try to shed the weight off. You got to give it time.
yeah. Especially again, like I was eating a pretty low calorie diet and exercising a lot, and I was not losing any weight. I was gaining weight, and I don't care if someone says calories in, calories out. That shit doesn't work. Like I do
Nonsense.
get it. I do get it, but it doesn't matter if you don't get enough sleep, if you don't get quality nutrition, if you don't like actually like have a calm state. Like if your hormones are wrecked, such as mine were, like they're still not perfect. Like I admit my hormones are still not good. Like I haven't taken a new like blood work test, whatever. But I can tell just from like my overall like living, I feel way better. Like I don't need to take a test right now because I feel better, but I have to take one in the future because I do care about my hormones. Um, but like again, it's just like I still also struggle again with like those thoughts, oh shit, you're eating too much. But I just know, despite dairy, okay? We gotta leave dairy out because I could like down cottage cheese like no one's business. But I feel like really bad afterwards because I just can't stomach it. And like also cheese, I could just eat it up. But like just let's talk about just like ribeyes and everything. Like honestly, I just gotta also allow myself like this day I never had that much meat in one day. And honestly, I do feel like those voices talking to me, oh, Julina, you had too much food, like, you were so bad, but I know deep down, like, I'm still calm. Like, if I would have consumed those calories and carbohydrates, you would not be able to speak to me right now because I would be, like, sweating. I would be, like, probably crying. I would probably scream at you. I would be so mad. Like, I feel so bad for my parents because back when I had those bad binges, I was, like, such a bitch. Like, I was terrible. I would, like, be mad at them. I would be mad at myself. And honestly, I didn't want to be alive anymore because I felt like so consumed by food and by food thoughts. I just wanted to be skinny, but I couldn't like last, and it was just like it was terrible. And it was probably just definitely my body telling me, okay, what you're doing is wrong, but I was just not listening. And yeah, it was terrible,
Yeah,
especially
like you
nutrient
said,
deficiencies. Yeah.
that zero carb zen that you feel, the carnivore zen, people talk about that all the time. And myself and my friend who I'm traveling with, we both did carnivore at the same time, and both right in line had the exact same thing happen. Just became so much more relaxed and chill. And when curveballs got thrown at us from life, it's like so easy to handle now. And I never had really bad anxiety or mental issues, but it was definitely an improvement. I can tell. Even just one example. Since I fly a lot, you fly some too. I know you've been in the States from Germany, but
Yes.
like for me, a flight day was always a big stressor. I was always just really stressed out. Like, man, is it gonna get delayed? Like, what's gonna go wrong? Is there gonna be something in my bag that I can't take on? There's just a lot of variables, and that would always kind of just get me stressed. I just hated those days. Those always, just I dreaded them. And now, to me, it just feels like, oh, it's part of the adventure. Oh, it got delayed. I don't care. I'll listen to podcasts for a couple hours. It's fine. Oh, it costs a little bit more money because the airline screwed up. That sucks, but oh well, life happens. And it's just so easy to brush things off. Where before
Yeah.
it would things would really bug me and like ruin my day if like some big thing went wrong. And that's extremely common. People just find that your mental strength and fortitude, your relaxation in difficult situations, your just ability to handle life becomes better. And life is always going to come with difficult times. Like it's carnivore is not going to fix bad things happening to you. It just makes it much easier to handle. And another thing
Yeah.
that you said that I wanted to touch on was how um, you just you can tell that your body feels better, so you don't feel the urgent need to get all these tests done. And that is something that a
Yes.
lot of people don't understand. And I remember even listening to the original Sean Baker podcast on Joe Rogan, the one back in 2017. How it was kind of funny to me because when I heard them talking about this, it was the exact same as me and my parents. Sean Baker is saying like, "Oh, I feel fine. I haven't gotten blood tests," and Joe's like, "Man, you need to get a blood test, man. Like, you need to see if you're like dying or something." And I was like, "That's the same thing as me and when I'm talking to my parents about this." Is they're like, Ben, you need to get a blood test and see if you're okay. I'm just like, I feel great. I have this trust in my body now because I feel so good. There's no way that you can feel this good and not be in a healthier place. And that's
Yeah.
very common as well as people do this diet is they just all of a sudden they understand their bodies better and they're all the signals are healing between the connections from your brain to your gut to your hormones
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
you can't explain it unless you've done it. You just know, like, wow, I feel better in every way. I don't really care. Like, sure, maybe I'll get a blood test and post on Instagram just to prove to people that I'm fine. But it doesn't even help a lot of the time because the actual recommendations that have been crafted by the FDA and the USDA and I'm terrible remembering the medical organizations, but the ones that actually build the what the recommended numbers and ranges should be, they're totally full of shit. Like it's saying that your cholesterol needs to be super super low. Well, that's bullshit. So like I don't care what if your little graph says my cholesterol is too high. I know that cholesterol is good for you now. So like I don't care about your little chart. So why would I spend the money?
Yeah. Yeah. It's stupid, honestly. But like in general, like I feel like the same, and especially like with traveling. I wasn't like full carnivore back then, but I wasn't like having much like carbohydrates anymore, and I was like mainly eating like meat and eggs. When I went back from Dubai, when I flew back home, like I was fasting on the way home and I was just like feeling fine. I wasn't thinking about food and I didn't have the cravings or anything. And I just feel like that's also like really important for me because from my past, I just have like this kind of trauma, like this food scarcity mindset. So I always needed to have like snacks on me or anything because I was just like too scared of like blood sugar drops and like feeling hungry and being like I don't know, like I needed to be around like food, or like I always had to have like money with me so I could like buy some rice cakes because I wouldn't eat out as well. Some rice cakes at like some grocery stores or something like that, just like to feel safe and full and I don't know. And now it's just like so easy. Like I'm not even like I do have like hunger feelings and like whenever I like start eating I actually like, enjoy it. But like I can just go like 20 hours. I know it's not the best for my hormones, that's why I still like kind of do not fast, at least not intentionally. But for the most time I'm like not eating for like 16 or 18 hours and I just feel like fine. When prior to that I would like wake up starving and I would feel like bad and everything and yeah, it was just like really, really weird. Like my hunger hormones and hunger cues were just like a mess, and they still kind of are, but they're getting like so much better. And I just don't feel the need to like snack and graze on something all day long. Like I would used to have like back in my bodybuilding days as well, like 6 meals a day. And I was just like always starving. I was just always like having spinach salad and like I don't know, like broccoli and cauliflower rice, and I just tried to like keep myself full and drink like Coke Zero and like diet drinks and like energy drinks. So yeah, it's just a big improvement for me.
In bringing back one of the things you mentioned earlier, how so many girls have this idea that eating these like brightly colored plants is more feminine, but
Yeah,
you're literally having to graze a whole day on these things. And there's so many pieces to that that they're not understanding. The first one is that, they're being fooled by marketing. This is like thousands of years of hybridization to make these things that you see in the store, and even the seeds that the farmers markets are growing their plants from. It's all super colorful and bright and vivid. That's not the way that nature made it. Humans made it that way. And I don't know, like, how much of that was purposeful just to actually like trick people's eyes into thinking these things are so beautiful, so I should eat them. But it's one of my favorite things to share on socials is like the side by side of a fruit 10,000 years ago versus the fruit that we see today. Like a
yes,
banana, for example. A banana was
yeah,
basically one giant seed before humans
yeah. It's
got their hands on it and started manipulating it to turn into this like big yellow like beautifully colored thing. And every single fruit that we eat now, like I said, even if it's at your farmer's market, these have still been the seeds that have been manipulated over the years, over
yeah. It's
thousands
just
of
so
years, like a
funny.
long time. It's a scam. It's a total scam. These things are good for you.
It's
They look beautiful to trick you, and you got tricked.
it's so funny to me. Like I live in northern Germany, so in Hamburg, and it's so funny to me when my mom is like buying some bananas in January. Like, I'm sorry, I live in a northern atmosphere. Like, it's winter. It's like minus whatever. Like, it's snowing outside, and we're having bananas and watermelon. Like, I just freaking hate this argument as well. Like, yeah, um, but we gotta have fruits, we gotta eat fruits, and we gotta eat the plants. Like, okay, let's say someone has to eat the plants, and we would be the, like, let's say we were omnivores, okay? Maybe, yeah, we are omnivores. Let's say we're omnivores. But we're not meant to eat those plants. We're not meant to eat like this man-made. That's not God made. That's not God made at all. Like, look at the banana, look at the watermelon, look at the perfect pink. Or when I went to the US, you guys have like white strawberries. Like, what is that? Or like candy grapes. Like, what is that? That's man-made. That's not God-made. Like, even if we were made to like eat plants, we would not be made to eat like those plants that we get at the grocery store. Like, I just don't get it. Like, we're not made to have that. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, don't get me wrong. I love blueberries. I love butternut squash. I love avocado. I love all of these things. But It's okay. In my opinion, it's okay if you're like not suffering from anything to have them once in a while. Like I'm not that dogmatic and say, "Oh, you got to be that strict." Like I want to be that strict, but if you don't want to do that, that's fine. But don't make it like part of your diet, like everyday diet. Like it's not normal in my opinion. Like we're not meant to consume those things. They're man-made. Like don't tell me those freaking again, like weird grapes or white strawberries or whatever are like literally not man-made. Like they are. It's just so funny to me.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I like that you know enter that sort of nuance of if you can have it every once in a while and it doesn't cause you problems, like it's your life, you can do whatever you want. The main message that I try to push is just that people understand what optimal is, so they have that as their sort of north star. And if they want to venture around and have other things that are out there, that's totally fine. But just don't tell people that it's good for you because it's not. Like just you, I want people to understand that these plants that they're eating are a net negative, and if they want to continue eating them, go for it. And then you can be as strict as you want, depending on where you want that trade off to be between optimal health versus a little bit of mouth pleasure every once in a while. But just helping people understand this is purely for your pleasure, because
Yes,
right
it
now a
is.
lot of people think that it's a healthy thing, and even if they don't like it, they continue to eat it because they think it's good for you, and so they're just losing on both ends. And that's one of the big misconceptions that I think is important to clear up for people.
Yes, I might make myself a bit unpopular right now by addressing that. But do you know, she used to be called Carnivore Yogi, Sarah Kleiner Wellness. I honestly
Yep,
really
yep.
enjoy her podcast. She has a podcast with Carrie B Wellness, I think her name is, and she has her own podcast as well. And she's not carnivore anymore, but I still really enjoy the stuff that they put out. And like even she used to be carnivore, she does eat more things now, but even she talks about like, okay, if you live maybe in Costa Rica and it's summer, it's totally okay to have like a mango, but most of us, we don't live like Paul Saladino in like an atmosphere where it's summer. And like imagine like we, especially like I live in the northern atmosphere or hemisphere, I'm sorry. um like we did not have any fruits, and especially not mangoes from whatever, like a tropical place in like January. Like even if you want to include fruits, do that maybe in like the summer, but like not in the winter as well. Like I think that's a point as well. I personally don't believe we should have it at all, but if you do want to consume some plants or some fruits, do it that way. Like do it the way Carrie says, or do it the way Sarah says it. um, I don't know if I make myself like a bit unpopular right now by telling that, because I do know that sometimes like the carnivore space is kind of like mad at her or like shitting on her, but I actually really think that she's a really smart woman and I do appreciate what she says. So I believe like especially if you do want to have something, it's not optimal, but there are times at the year where it's more appropriate to do so, but it's just not normal to have like in the middle of January to have like a freaking banana and I don't know, like raspberry smoothie. Like I see so many people, like even in winter, like drinking smoothie bowls and having smoothie bowls. It used to be me, by the way. I should just admit it. It used to be me. Even like in winter, I would have my protein raspberry banana smoothie bowls with almond milk and everything. Like I would be that person, but it's like not a appropriate diet. Like it's just like especially I feel it's so interesting. Like especially with our ancestors, I know that all my ancestors are like pretty much like born here, and I know they wouldn't have consumed all of those fruits. Like we don't have that here. We might have an apple once in a while, but that would be it. Like there's not much here. Here we only have like animals. That's it. We would probably lived on like animals, and that's it. So, and honestly, also I love the arguments that people make that we're made to eat like plants and not like we're not made to eat animals and everything, and that like this diet is going to make us fat and unhealthy. But like honestly, the way we're eating right now, like grains and everything, makes us unhealthy. And it's just so funny to me how we are like the only species that is not like, we see how our health declines and we see how not diet appropriate we eat, and we're like the only we are the only species that is obese. We're the only diet no, we're the only species that like does not follow a diet specific. species appropriate diet, and we're like the only like species that actually suffers from so many things. And it's just so funny to me that people don't make those connections and say, yeah, but grains are good. More and more people are consuming grains. Meat consumption is at an all-time low, and we still say, oh, red meat is the cause of all problems, the cause of all diseases. Eggs are bad, you should stop having them. Butter is bad, have margarine. And it's just so funny to me, like, it just makes me so mad. But yeah. Sorry, I probably
Yeah.
lost my zero cup zen for a second, but it just makes me mad.
No, this is the balance that we all have to deal with. It's so funny you actually mentioned that, because I deal with this too. Is there's the Zen side of me where I'm so much more relaxed and just focused,
Yeah,
and I don't let the nonsense bother me anymore. But at the same time, we've come across this pot of knowledge that we were so fooled on. We see a whole world full of people that have been fooled by this, and so it gets us super invigorated, and we're also like we have way more energy now. I never used to bounce out of bed early in the morning and be ready to go. I hated mornings back when I was eating carbs, and it's just because our energy is all screwed up when you're on a carb diet. It really screws up the entire cycle. And being a woman, for you, like, talk about cycles being messed up. You have the whole hormonal side on top of that, which makes it even worse. And I think this is a big
yeah,
reason why a lot of women are just suffering more in general, because there's like multiple cycles that are being ruined by bad diet that are causing problems internally. And I mean, when I was just making a Twitter post yesterday, sort of looking at this, like, do people understand that women, like middle-aged women right now, and I guess all women in general, the antidepressant use and drug use is just going off the charts compared to men. And I think this is such an important thing for people to understand. I think that nutrition is a huge part of it. There's all sorts of other, you know, crazy things going on in the world that play a factor as well. But when you're not getting good
of course.
nutrition, you have no chance. And since women's bodies are more
Yeah,
complex, you need to have that locked down even more so, or you're going to have more problems. And I think that's a big part of it. Would you agree?
yeah, yeah, definitely. And that's the problem. But like, we push plant-based diets, especially onto women. And I mean, it's so sad, especially pregnant women. Like, pregnant women shouldn't drink raw milk, pregnant women shouldn't have meat, pregnant women shouldn't do that, this, that, whatever, like raw meat and everything. Like, okay, if you don't know the source where your meat is coming from, I get that. But like, if you actually have a great farm where you can buy raw milk or raw, like, actually, like, raw meat and have it, then do it. But I just feel like so bad for all the women just believing that nonsense, giving their child like formula, and like, it's just so sad, especially like you see if like kids are like raised on a vegetarian or vegan diet, they will never like actually grow like tall. Like, I am 5'5", okay? And my mom is 5'11", okay? And my dad is 6'1" or 6', something like that. I think 6'1". No, even taller. Like, I think 6 foot is like 180, I think. And my dad is 189 centimeters. So I think that's like 6'1" or 6'2". And my mom is like almost 180. She's 179 centimeters. And I'm 5'5". And guess who followed a freaking shitty plant-based, like, I had no fats diet. And I just believe, okay, now I'm 18, like, I will not grow anymore. But it's just like kind of sad. Like, I like my size. I have no problem with like being 5'5", but I do know it's probably because of my diet. That's probably one of the reasons why I never grow. I like grew up like, I lost my period when I was like 14, so my growth was like when I was pretty much like doing a low fat diet, and I still have like really problems with that. Like, it's still like a struggle, but it's like been way better since like incorporating more fat. But like, I would like to know what would have happened if I would like actually fuel my body appropriately during like puberty. Like, I would like to know what would happen. Like, I never know. I would never know, and I think it's so sad because I see more and more like. Do you see the height difference, especially like in women? So many women nowadays are like getting smaller and smaller, and I feel like men are growing taller. Not all, but like, especially like women are like getting smaller. Like, I've listened to a great podcast. They were like talking about how like women and men used to be like pretty much the same height. Like, men used to be a bit higher, but like especially women nowadays are like getting smaller. And it's definitely because of malnutrition, because women are like definitely more prone to eating disorders or like doing like a plant heavy or plant-based diet.
I, I definitely would say there's no way men are getting taller, but maybe in comparison to women,
Yeah, in
there's
comparison,
a
that's what
bigger
I meant. I'm
gap.
sorry. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, yeah.
yeah. What I meant was they're taller than women, like still, because back in the 1950s or 40s, I think, or in I don't know when, but women and men were not like they did not have the biggest height difference, and now there's like such a big height difference. I feel like women are getting smaller, like men aren't getting that tall anymore either, but just like so interesting to me. And in general, like seeing all like those mental illnesses and autism and everything rising, like it's got to be like it's got to be the food that we're eating, because honestly it's also really funny to me, like sometimes like my comments right now are pretty decent, like sometimes get called like that I look like a 12-year-old boy on steroids. Like I take it as a compliment when they say I look like I'm on steroids. Like who doesn't want to be called that? Like ignore that part that I look like a 12-year-old. But anyways, like my comments aren't that bad, like I don't want to complain, but like sometimes I see like really bad comments on like carnivore videos. And I mean, I've also received some like death threats, but what I literally wrote a comment a few days ago under a Carnivore guy's page, and I was just like, yeah, I got diagnosed with depression last year, but I was just like eating under 30 grams of fat a day, and now I'm just like doing so good, and I'm like eating so much fat, and I don't want to say like all depression is caused by by nutritional deficits, deficiencies. I'm sorry. Um, but it definitely plays a role. And Instagram literally deleted my comment because I was spreading misinformation. But people can call me what they want. Like they sometimes use slurs and do whatever they want. And Instagram, like literally, it doesn't do anything. Like people say, yeah, you were a murderer, whatever, go to jail and use slurs. And my comments are like full with, and okay, I'm not getting that much hate, but like friends of mine get like plenty of hate. And I'm just like, we can just tell that they're pushing this plant-based propaganda, and it's just so sad, but yeah.
Yeah, the whole centralization of the big tech side is a whole rabbit hole in itself, and this is one that I've also, explored. I'll throw out a dart at a what I believe is definitely a big part of the solution is this movement toward more protocol-based social media platforms, and the one that I actually did a podcast episode about this. I'll send it to you. It's called Noster, but it's basically
Mm-hmm.
this idea of just having a totally decentralized system where there's lots of different servers that run it, and so it's not like a centralized one, because you see things like this happen where Meta or Facebook, Instagram, and all the other ones, literally every centralized platform has some sort of problem there, but I think Facebook and Meta is the worst, where they just have this team of people that are anointed as the fact checkers, that are just sitting on their computer and just deleting things that people say and really changing the public conversation. And it just so happens that these people always tend to go with the narrative that's being fed to the world, which nutritionally, the narrative is meat is bad for you, veganism is the best, plants are good. And so, like, you have to battle this censorship. And I've had my stuff taken down too. And, Sean Baker, I think, has had his whole account taken down several times. It's crazy
Sean
because
is
you
so
have to
great.
fight these things. When that is like the biggest communication channel for people, everyone has some different story of just censorship affecting them in some way, whether
Yes.
it's them being censored or whether they weren't able to see some information and they don't even know about it because they never someone that was providing that information was censored. And we see that so
It,
much, and it's so relevant for our community as we are, we're pushing back against the status quo, trying to heal people with the proper human diet, and it just makes it a lot more difficult. So that's a big
it,
challenge, but the reason why I'm optimistic is because there are so many people coming out from all angles, all ages, all countries, all over the world that are, coming around to this. They're trying it. They've reached their threshold of being willing to give it a shot, and they're finding they feel the best they've ever felt. And like we talked about earlier, their brain picks up a notch. They suddenly feel invigorated and excited, and that natural human instinct of wanting to help our fellow human beings kicks in. and we just have all this passion and fire to go after this. So the fact that I think we've really just begun the escape velocity phase where, it just breaks the door down with all these people coming out like yourself. I mean, you're brand new to this and you're already, growing on Instagram, which is great. And you're getting your name out there and more people are doing this. It's just going to be impossible to stop it eventually. It's going to overwhelm the gatekeepers.
Definitely, I hope so as well. Just kind of also funny to me how Instagram now starts warning if you like follow big carnival pages. Like this, I don't know what they always say. Like, yeah, this account has like posted misleading information, something like that, like warning. And I think it's just so funny. By the way, have you listened to the podcast with the militant vegan with Sean Baker yet?
I saw it posted, but when I see that, I'm just like, I don't even have time to lose brain cells listening to this person
I've
yelling at Sean
listened
Baker.
to I actually like friends of mine saw her in real life because she's in my hometown sometimes.
Oh, you're
Um,
kidding. That's too funny.
yeah, no, I'm not kidding. Like I'm German. I literally live so close. I know because my city is like known for being like the um climate activist city. Like Berlin and Hamburg are like so like Green Party obsessed and like vegan and pushing everything. And she's been in Hamburg like multiple times, and friends of mine have seen her in real life. Just so funny. And I've listened to the podcast earlier and on my long morning walk, and I'm not kidding. I literally had a headache afterwards. Like I was done. I was fried. My brain was fried, and I honestly felt so bad for the vegans. Like honestly, it's so embarrassing. It's so freaking embarrassing.
One of the things that we have to keep in mind is that, totally not trying to be an asshole when I say this, but vegan people literally have malnourished brains. Their brains aren't working properly. And like you cannot bring that up in a conversation with one because of course they're just going to lose their shit over it. But this is scientifically true. Your brain
Yeah,
is made
it's
of
of seven. I
60%
think
fat.
70. I think
Yeah,
70.
your brain is like mostly fat. If you're not giving it fat, then
Mm-hmm.
you're not operating at the highest potential. And so this is why, like, vegans will get more flustered easily. They're more likely to be anxious or depressed or
Yeah,
just like not function as well in general. And
and
so we have to understand this and give them a little bit of slack when we're trying to get through to them because uh, our I'm sorry, our brains are just working better. Like it's one of those things that you need to understand when you enter those conversations. And even people who are eating a balanced diet, like I did for most of my life, where this was my family always really cared about health. We were always doing our absolute best, so we always had a very you know very standard mix of we had a little bit of veggies, a little bit of fruit, a little bit of super healthy whole grains, as we were told, and a little bit of like lean chicken breast. And that was pretty much what I had. I pretty much had no fat during that time. So even though I was eating meat, like I was never vegan or vegetarian, I enjoyed my meat when I had it, but I wasn't eating nearly enough. So I just didn't know what was possible. And so many other
mm,
people are in that boat right now where they're like, oh, like I'm not debilitated by anxiety or depression, so this is the best I'll ever be. They think that they're okay, but they don't know that there's a whole different level there that they can reach, and it's going to completely change their life.
yeah, I agree. Especially also coming back to like eating disorders, it's like so hard, especially like for people with anorexia to recover because their brain is so malnourished. And that's like also a problem with the system. Like we're feeding those individuals. Like I've never been to the hospital, but my parents wanted me to get hospitalized, but I just got better on my own.
From your
Um,
anorexia, this was right.
yeah, but it was not because I actually wanted to like recover, but because my body was like some not so great events happened in a short period of time, and some family other issues outside, and my grandma passed away, my dog passed away, like literally everything in like a few months. So I was turning to food again because that used to be my coping mechanism. So I was just like normally gaining weight. So it wasn't me like recovering. It was me in a larger body, but like with anorexic thoughts. And then I lost weight again, put it on again, like it was crazy. But like that's one of the reasons why I personally like, I mean, I can't speak for myself because I've never been to a clinic, but I do have friends who used to be hospitalized because of anorexia, and they literally don't learn how to properly eat. They just get weight restored and get sent back home. And imagine, like, I know how stressed I feel when I'm like on a high carbohydrate diet, and that's exactly what they get. They get just like sugar, donuts, and when they don't eat it, it's just like an eating disorder. That's why I'm currently reading The Dietitian's Dilemma by Michelle Horn. And I'm
Hmm.
like really obsessed with her. She's like great, and I totally agree. Like that's one of the reasons why I see such a big potential. Like either if you want to lose weight, if you're recovering from a eating disorder, if you want to gain weight, if you suffer from like a mental illness, that's why I personally believe like a high-fat carnivore diet is like the way to go and to like actually focus on having that animal fat. I don't believe we gotta focus that much on protein. I feel like the last few years protein was like the central macronutrient. But I do know protein is important, but honestly, I struggle. Like, I'm eating way too much protein on that diet. Like, I think we all should, like, really focus on getting in that good fat to like actually like recover. Like if you actually want to recover, if you want to get rid of inflammation, if you want to feel better, you got to eat those animal fats. And it's also so crazy to me, like hospital food, like what are we feeding those people? It's crazy. Like it's just so sad, and that's like also so sad. And yeah, it makes me sad.
Absolutely.
And
And I think that's really important how, like, just to really prioritize the fat. And from your Instagram reels and your stories, one of the things you do, I think, is really great is you are always posting the things that you're actually eating.
yeah,
So maybe we could jump into that for the people and especially the women out there, because man, I haven't really, I don't know the exact science behind this, but it sure seems like when I listen to a bunch of female stories, a bunch of male stories, it's extremely common for women to really break through a plateau when they just really increase the fat. Like it seems like
yes,
women really respond even better to high fat,
yes.
and men have a little bit more sort of variability. So, could you give us an overview of just what you're eating from day to day? Maybe what sort of meals could people start thinking about so for their next shopping run, they can start a list of things that they can buy and try?
Okay, so I'm honestly known for being the ribeye girl. I just pound ribeyes, and I know they're not like the like least expensive thing, but again, like I'm like really lucky that my dad again sells meat, so I just get it for free. But like honestly, like my day, most of the time I have like 2 meals a day because it just fits perfectly. I know it's not the best for me, but I prefer to work out fasted, especially because like my gut has not adapted too well to the diet yet. It's still sometimes a struggle. So I rather like eat later that in the day. But yeah, so most of the time I just have like a big ribeye. It's always a big ribeye for breakfast. The people who follow me know like the last 33 days, I still have to post my reel today. It's always been a ribeye for breakfast and it will not change. So I always have a big ribeye for breakfast. I always cook it in butter. I prefer butter, but I also sometimes use tallow. And then I either sometimes I have a really big steak, then I don't have anything with it. But I always have bone broth. I have at least like 1 to 6 cups of bone broth, homemade bone broth, either chicken bone broth or beef bone broth. You gotta be careful with chicken. Again, I cannot do any chicken bone broth if there's like still fat on there. Like I have to let it cool down and let the fat like come to the top and then I have to remove it. It's disgusting. You can't drink that. I get nauseous. Like chicken fat avoided at all costs. It's basically seed oils. I can't do it. So I have my chicken bone broth. And then I have like either some beef heart with my breakfast. Sometimes I have eggs, but I kind of cut out eggs for a while because I thought they would like kind of yeah cause digestive problems, but it's not that. Or sometimes I also have like crispy beef fat. Like when I make tallow, I have like those big beef chunks still left, so I just have them. Or sometimes I have like some fatty fish with it as well. So I have like always a really big breakfast, and sometimes I just have butter with it. But most of the time, my favorite breakfast right now is just like having a big ribeye and beef heart for breakfast. and then I just have like my bone broth, and sometimes during the day, like I eat pretty late, like I always call it brunch because it's more like lunch hours. I have my breakfast and then until I have dinner, which I always have like at 5 p.m. I just have like some bone broth, and for dinner I either have another ribeye. Sorry, yeah. Um,
There's
some
zero apologies for ribeye in this room. We
okay,
are ribeyes.
okay.
We love the ribeyes here.
Yeah, sometimes okay, so sometimes I have like ribeye in the evening with like eggs again, or like some raw liver or some beef hearts, and sometimes I have like New York strip with eggs or a New York strip with like butter. Like it's always pretty much the same. Sometimes I do have salmon like once or twice a week. Um Sometimes I have like some ground beef, but I'm honestly not the biggest fan of ground beef. But when I have ground beef, I have ground beef with like eggs, or I have some cheese sometimes, but again, I'm like not, I cannot stomach cheese too well. Like I just don't feel my best when having like dairy. But like that's most of the time what I eat. Like today I had the most meat I ever had. So for breakfast I had like, I simply don't know the amount in pounds, but it was like, I tracked it, I think it was like 520 grams of ribeye. So that's like more than a pound, like I think 1.2 pounds with cooked in butter. And I also had beef heart with it, and I think I had butter with it. Like I'm sorry, I've already forgot it, but yeah, I had beef heart with it, and I had butter. And then now for dinner, I was like actually starving because I'm like really active. Like I'm a girl, like I'm really active, and I also had a really heavy leg day, so I had like this leftover like picanha steak, but it was just like, I don't know, I just had like the fat was already like, I already had the fat in a different day because I was just craving beef fat, so I just had a picanha steak without the fat, like really stupid. So I just cut it into a few chunks and had another big ribeye with it, and cooked in butter. So that was my dinner. So in total, I had like, I think it was. Wait, give me a second. So that was 600 grams, 520, probably like, actually like more, I would say probably like 4 pounds of meat today. I actually think it was that much, or like, yeah, probably. I'd like like, I was so active. So again, I'm just like eating so much fat and I'm just doing so good. So a typical day looks like having at least a ribeye for me. It's like my daily pleasure. And I also love oxtail. I gotta admit, I had oxtail for the first time a few days ago. Oxtail is great. I like oxtail, and I also like ribs. But I could like eat ribs like in a sitting. That's like also trigger food for me. Like I could just eat them up. But like ribeyes, if you're eating a ribeye, like honestly, I love it. Like ribeyes, people already like tag me on their ribeyes when they have ribeyes, and I just love it. Like again,
That's when you know you've made it. You start getting tagged on people's
yes,
pictures.
like honestly, please, like everyone who's listening right now, if you ever eat a ribeye, you can, feel always free to send me a picture or tag me in your stories. I would love to see them. I repost every single story, even like honestly, like I repost all of them. Oh, and I also like T-bone steak. Like I have everything. I don't have a grill right now, but we're about to buy a grill. But I also have like tomahawks in my freezer, and I'm so excited to finally try them, but they just simply don't fit into my pans right now, so I'm just waiting. But yeah, that's basically it. And sometimes again, I have some raw liver as well. Beef heart. I really enjoy beef heart. I do not like raw liver. But yeah, that's basically it. Bone broth, beef, butter, eggs. I don't do pork, like rarely. I don't do chicken, only my chicken bone broth, but I don't like chicken and pork as much. But that's basically it. Like, you don't need more in my opinion. Maybe some ghee as well if you want to. That's it.
Jolina, I didn't know you 4 years ago, but I can just tell that you have so much passion and energy around this. It just makes me so happy that you are like feeling good. You can just tell that the food you're eating is making your life
Makes me
better
so
in such a
happy. It
huge
makes me
way.
happy. Like I'm already looking forward to my steak tomorrow. Like no joke. I am so happy. And I'm having the same food every day. Like honestly, I could just live on honestly just ribeyes. Honestly, for real. Like I love ribeyes. It makes me happy. I want to spread the message, and I want people to know that there's like a chance to feel better. It's not just all in your head. You're not alone. Like if you're suffering right now, you can go through it. You will get through it. It's gonna be better. It's gonna be better if you have a support system, and if you actually follow like a nutrient dense diet, and if you actually increase the fat intake, because we do eat enough protein on this diet. But please, especially the ladies out there, if you struggle with like, I don't know, like hormonal imbalances, please don't fear the fat. Like, no joke. I don't want to like scare people, and I also don't want to push like diet culture or anything. But I lost weight increasing my fat intake. Like, I've lost 6 or 7 kilograms in a few days because my body was inflamed. I was holding on to so much water. I was holding on to fat. I was just inflamed. And now I'm just doing way, way better. Like, again, I still have those days where my body and my stomach isn't as defined or anything, but that's normal. Like, I have hormones as well, like hormonal fluctuation. But like, overall, I just feel better, and I'm not as moody. I just feel good. I'm thriving. I'm excited for my ribeyes. I'm excited. Maybe when I'm gonna open Instagram now, I might see another ribeye. Like, I'm just happy, and I'm happy when people like, I don't know, like try out new things, want to start eating that way. I'm just happy for them. And again, like, I don't care if someone calls me a 12-year-old boy. Like, I love to be that boy. At least like, I'm spreading the message. That's the only thing. Like, even if people tell me I look like a cow or whatever, like, I love cows and I love being the person that spreads the messages. Like, I don't care. Like, even if I don't know, like, it doesn't matter. At least the message gets spread. And I don't care if people make fun of me for being that way. Like, I don't care. Like, honestly, I just want to spread the message, and I want people to know that there's gonna be a solution, and that life is gonna be better. Like, life doesn't have to be like bad, and everything's gonna be alright. Like, just believe.
I can't think of a better way to wrap up this episode, Joelina. There's so much that you have to share that helps so many people, and the fact you're doing it at 18 is just amazing. I'm so happy for you. And why don't you take us off into the sunset with one, where people can find you and follow your story, and two, what are your top recommendations for, maybe some women out there that have really played a big part in your journey? Because I know that you're all about like showing them love. Why don't you give us some recommendations for the women out there specifically listening, looking to get started on healing themselves with this diet?
So what I would do, especially to all the plant-based ladies, I would first of all read the book The Vegetarian Myth by Lear Keith. For the girls that struggle with like anorexia or with like eating disorders, I would recommend checking out Michelle Hearn and Valerie N, I think is her name. I would also tell people to also like Dr. Kiltz. I feel like he's also good, especially for fertility. Like, a Steak and Butter Gal, I love her content as well. I just feel like she makes women feel like really comfortable and seen, and I just love her. She's like, honestly, she's so humble and she's so sweet. I love her so much. Um, yeah, let me think for a second. Um, I really
Kelly
enjoy.
Hogan is one that we
Yeah,
mentioned.
yes,
She is
yes,
just a ray of sunshine and like
yes.
speaks so well to women as well.
I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but Juro Bulumir. She has like great like content as well for like people. Like, she posts lots of like
Oh, I know who you're talking
Duro.
about.
Yeah,
I'll include links to all these so people don't have
yes,
to remember. I'm going to link every single one of their socials in the
she's
comments or the
she's
description.
she's great as well. She's a big inspiration. She helps
I
like
think
a
it's
lot
like
of people.
Duru Bilimlier
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah, yes,
Bilimlier. Yeah.
yeah. I love her as well. She's great. Um, and I would just say again, like Anthony Chafee, like everyone knows him. He's great as well. For the people struggling with like mental problems, I would check out definitely Georgia Eats. I would check out Chris Palmer's work as well. Um, Let me think. Yeah, that's probably like I probably
That's a
missed some
great
people,
list. That's a
but
great
yeah,
list. Yeah.
I love those people. Like, they had the biggest impact on me personally. Um, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Like, those
And
people
don't
are
forget
like,
about yourself. Where do people find
oh,
you? You're too
so I,
humble.
oh, thank you. So, my Instagram is just Joelina.Bandow, so Joelina Bandow, and I might start a new TikTok account as well, but I just freaking hate TikTok, but I just want to reach more people, and but TikTok is just so cool. And yeah, I'm gonna launch a podcast to as soon too. Like, if you guys don't have a problem with my thick German accent and some of my grammar mistakes, then feel free to like give it a listen. I don't have it yet, but when will this episode air?
Oh,
What?
I'm not really sure. I'm I'm stacked behind right now, but I will be sure to shoot it out as soon as I can.
Or all right, okay, so I can probably tell you the name already, so I'm not too sure. If it's not published by then I just suck, and someone will probably get the name, because I'm not going to share with anyone else, but I want to
I'm going
call
to
it
help
Rep.
motivate you to make sure it comes out in time.
Thank you so
So
much.
let it out. Yeah.
Okay, my name is going to be Reps for Ribeyes because I'm a gym girly and I love ribeyes, so I'm going to call it Reps for Ribeyes. And it's got a touch of like eating disorder, carnivore, mental health, overall nutrition, diet facts, but also just lifestyle. Me being a weirdo talking about like weird recipes and like eating butter and everything. It's just gonna be about that. And yeah, again, if people want to reach out, my Instagram is joelina.bandow. I'm like always feel free to message me. Like I don't care if you want to talk about like eating disorders, weight loss, weight gain, muscle gain, or if you just want to talk about your favorite steak cuts. And no, I don't believe that you should like cook your steak fully, but even that, if you want to tell me that you eat your steak like cooked well done, I'm fine with that, but I would probably classify you as a weirdo. But still, if you want to send me a ribeyes, I love that. I love ribeyes. I love everything. I love everyone. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. It was my first time. So thank
It has
you.
been an absolute pleasure. The pleasure is all mine, and I'm so excited for you to continue growing both as a carnivore, because you've only done it for 1 freaking month, and you already have all this energy to share, which is just awesome. And you got a podcast coming out. You're growing to social media. It's like the very beginning for you, and I'm so excited to be here to help support you and get your
That's so
message out
awesome.
there to as many people as I can. So I'll
Thank
put all
you.
those links in the show notes for people, and especially if I do publish this after it
My
exists.
podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
I'm gonna
maybe
let
I
you
could
know.
wait until the first episode comes out, and I'll push it out then. I'll
Yeah,
do that, and we'll
yeah,
sort of put this out there as and market it to people, make sure they know
yeah,
where to find you, because I'm sure
yeah.
tons of people listening will be so excited to go learn more from you and follow your story
Awesome.
more.
And we haven't even touched on like oxides or anything. That could be
I
too much,
know
but yeah, it's
this is how you know it's a good podcast, is when you don't even touch
yes.
the notes that you had on the side. And
Yeah, we haven't talked about bodybuilding, nothing. Yeah, it was
yeah,
just like so nice.
that's the
Maybe
way
you
it
would.
should be, because I'm going to keep all these notes, and the fact that you're so new to this, it'll be fantastic to have like a few months later episode where we check back in and see how things have been
Oh, that'd be
going, and
awesome. That'd be
we'll have
awesome.
all this stuff to talk about, and I'm so
Yeah.
excited to do it again. And
Oh, me too. And then I can hopefully provide like insights on how I overcame like my oxide dumping problems as well because it just
yeah,
sucks. But yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Thank you so much. It was so nice.
it
It was
was
nice meeting
absolutely
you.
wonderful. Great meeting you too, and we will be in touch, Jolina.
Yeah, and have a good day. Goodbye.